Okay, so I was not TA in the first year, and I think as an international, if that's the audience that I'm addressing this question to, as an international, you don't like I don't think you can work on campus or you can work part-time. So that was not an option during the first year. And even if there would be an option, it is so hard to do it in the first year because you're learning so much and you are very busy. Whether it's recruiting, whether it's actually taking up leadership opportunities during your first year, and also the core curriculum is completely different. Unless somebody has already done a bachelor's in business administration before, they would have some kind of like subjects that they might have studied before. But I was coming from an engineering background, so I did not study finance or accounting in my previous school. So that was completely new for me. So that was that. But talking about the TA position, teaching assistant position that I got, that was in my third semester. That means like from say July onwards until December. So that was under a professor who was teaching data analytics to the first years. So it was a core course that everybody had to go through. It was not an elective. And how I got that opportunity was so I come with an engineering background, and I definitely have an inclination towards mathematics, towards computer science, towards logical problem solving. I am very interested in all of those aspects. So that was my strength. And when I started studying that subject, I absolutely loved it. Like I could really think ahead, and try to address problems that might come up in the in the future classes for that matter. So I had a very obvious inclination towards it. And during my exams and all of that, during the classroom sessions that we had, I would definitely engage out of my natural curiosity. It was not intentional or planned or anything like that. And I gratefully got like great results in that subject particularly. And that's how the professor reached out to me on their own. There were two professors who wanted to have me on as their TA for this particular course next year. And I said, yeah, I would love to be a teaching assistant to you, and definitely help you in whatever ways I can as an assistant, in a way, whether it's about solving questions that people might have when they're going through the subject, or if somebody is feeling overwhelmed with statistics as a subject, because not everybody comes from an engineering background. There are people who are coming from an arts background, or they were a lawyer in their previous life. So it's not natural for everybody to like it or love the subject or feel comfortable. So I think that's the approach that I took. It was an awesome experience. I also did something called as peer coaching program. So I was basically a peer coach to with the career services center at my school. Advice that I would give to anybody who would do this, who would like to do this. One is, you definitely don't have to do this, because at least I was overwhelmed with a lot of things that were happening at school. These were the opportunities that came across that I found in a way. And I always had an inclination to help people. That's why I chose peer coach program. That's why I chose teaching assistant program. So I naturally had that inclination. So it was easy for me. I did not want to burden myself more with extra set of responsibilities. So you have to be cautious of when you're saying yes to an opportunity and when you're saying no to an opportunity. When you go to a business school, there are thousands of things that you can do on campus. You can pick up student leadership roles. You can be a teaching assistant. You might be searching for a job. You might have already an offer, but you might be looking for another offer. So, and plus you're studying, and you are mentoring so many of your first years through direct or indirect student organization channels. So there's a lot to do. And or you might be interning part-time at some company locally. So there is a lot to do. So you have to consciously choose the things that you like to do. So and would that help you in the future? And these opportunities that I took definitely gave me joy, and that's how I took it. So that's my That's my advice. Yeah. Okay, so I would say it was no different as a woman or a man. They were like, there was no bias as such. They were, as a woman MBA candidate, I did not have lesser opportunities or more opportunities than my male counterparts. And I did not face this gratefully when I was in India or when I'm here, whether it's about the salary that I got, whether it's about the opportunities, the doors that were open to me. It was never easier or never harder than anybody else who's there in my place. But what one thing that I can definitely say, it was there were lesser opportunities for international students, and that's normally the case. I mean, if you're going to a different country, especially in the case of US, the system is like that. And I was mentally prepared. I knew that I might have to work a little bit harder than some of my classmates, because sometimes all companies might not be open to accepting international students just because of the visa policies and concerns. It's not about they have any, like personal grudges or anything like that towards internationals. So coming back to a question about what opportunities were open for me, I would say there were a lot of things. Like in my previous professional experience, I was working as a technology consultant. I was at Deloitte. So I had experienced the consulting world. I was definitely interested in technology. So I was applying for consulting companies. I was applying for strategy roles. That was something that I was very interested in. I thought about, like, I literally planned everything. What are my top 10 companies that I really want to go towards? What are the next set of companies that are good to go to? And then what are my like tier 3 companies? So I had a list of companies that are open to internationals, which have exciting roles that I am interested in. What kind of brands are these? What industries do they belong in? So that's how I prepared it. And I was kind of industry agnostic. I was not too picky on going with just one kind of industry, because I was coming from consulting. So I was open to the idea of trying out different things. And that's why I took a full-time MBA program in the first place, because I really wanted to get a sense of what is happening in the global market. How can I try out my hand at different things? So I came across this opportunity that I took. It's my current role is global strategic sourcing. It is so I'm a category manager at Amgen. It's a biotech biopharmaceutical company in the US. It's actually global company. We have a lot of offices across the world. It's not in India right now, but it's definitely in the Japan, China market. It's also in Latin America, in UK as well. So that's something that I came across. It was one of the companies that came to campus. So I had an opportunity to talk to them, get to know about their program, and then I intentionally picked up this specific program that they were offering for an internship last year, and they still offer it. And the reason is that because it was very aligned to the core skill sets that I bring to the table. It was very cross functional. It is very cross functional role. It requires a lot of problem solving skills, a lot of stakeholder management, a lot of relationship building, negotiation aspects, things that I really loved doing. And I definitely do not come with a supply chain operations sourcing background, for that matter. I do not come from a healthcare industry. I was completely a newbie in this last year, but I really enjoyed the role. I really liked the company. That's why when I got offered a full-time role, I picked up that opportunity, and I have now joined back the company. I've recently started working. Sure. So I guess networking has a very, sometimes has a negative connotation in our mind. And like I am definitely not an extrovert, but I was open to the idea of talking to people. Maybe it's because of my past experiences that I've had professionally, personally, and it's the way we are brought up and things that we like to do and we don't like to do. So it's about that. But networking is definitely should not be taken in a way that you have to, pretend as somebody else when you're talking to someone. Maybe there would be like a couple of instances where you'll have to, where you might feel that you're not being able, not connecting to the other person because of time crunch, because there's so many people out there and they also have, lack of time and all of those reasons. But most of the times and most of the meaningful relationships that you build with people are when you are genuinely interested in knowing about them. So if I met anyone, whether it's on LinkedIn or whether it's any employee that came to campus talking about their company, their industry, I would genuinely reach out to them. I would talk, in a couple of sentences. I would share what kind of background do I come with and why I'm interested in learning about their role and their job, and then I would take that conversation forward. I would listen to what the other person is saying, ask smart questions. Like, you don't have to pretend, but you definitely have to be prepared enough to talk to people. And that requires a lot of self reflection and understanding what kind of strengths, what kind of skill sets you're bringing to the table, so that you can talk confidently about yourself and at least be sure that, okay, this is something that interests me and I would like to know more from you. What is your role look like how many hours do you spend in doing XYZ? What's your day-to-day job like? And other things like how do you succeed in this particular role and in this company. Learning about their culture and what values does this company appreciate or would like to really cultivate. So those kind of questions. And you might have to talk a number of times to the same person if you're genuinely interested in learning about their role, learning about that company. So it's not just one interaction that you would have. And you should, like as an MBA, I would keep a note of every conversation that I would actually have with a person. So I had I got a little bit nerdy, I feel. I had an Excel sheet of all the people that I spoke with. I still have it, like date wise. I would have the companies that they came from, the number of times I've spoken to them, and I would like make notes of the questions that I'm going to ask them, what kind of answers they gave me. I would send out thank you notes to them. I would really appreciate the time they offered me, because everybody's time is so important. And when you give so much of gratitude, when you're genuinely interested in learning about somebody or a job, I think people sense that, and that's how you build a relationship. And it's not just limited to the first 2 years I spent at school. It was not just for the job hunt that I was doing. It's like networking is definitely a long term game, if I may say so. It's not short term. It's not like, okay, I want this job at so and so company, so I'm going to talk to this person and I'm going to get my resume, into the company. It's not like that. Definitely not like that. So you have to like think that how what can I gain from this conversation, and how can I show myself or actually be interested in this kind of role, and then things fall in place for you. So that's probably my advice. Like, be prepared and ask smart questions and be genuinely interested in knowing about people, and you would find a lot of opportunities in any business school, I think.